First at noon, a live look at Hilo. We have a first alert weather day in effect for Hawaii Island as we track severe thunderstorms and strong winds over the eastern end of the state. Earlier this morning, Maui saw severe weather that caused power outages, school closures, and even snow. We'll have more on that in just a moment. Our first alert weather team is keeping an eye on this system that will linger over Hawaii Island into Saturday. Meteorologist Drew Davis has the latest developments.
Aloha, Ashley. Of course, we still have that first alert weather day up for Hawaii Island. That's where we're expecting the most of the impacts. There's isolated thunderstorms because there's enough instability in the atmosphere. The rest of the island chain is expected to see trade wind weather and some sunny skies. So let's break down our first alert radar and satellite. Not much going on over there right now across the entire state, but as we zoom into Hawaii Island, I want to point out that there's lots of instability in the atmosphere. We're seeing some showers along the southeastern portions of the island and still some cloud cover. But as we go into the afternoon today, where the atmosphere is warming up by the sun, we could see some pop-up thunderstorms. Maui County, Oahu, and Kauai have been relatively quiet over the last hour. But as we go forward in our first alert futurecast, you're going to see this really clearly. We've got a better chance for some rainfall across the Big Island and those isolated thunderstorms. I'll give you a breakdown of that in my full forecast coming up, but we're going to bring in team coverage. Dylan Encheta joins us to talk about the Maui thunderstorm we saw earlier this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much, Drew. We have been tracking this severe weather all morning, and it is having some pretty significant impacts on Maui Island. First, let's go ahead and start with the schools. By now, all of the families impacted by these closures should be aware, but let's run down the list of the 9 schools that are closed. Hana High and Elementary, Kamali'i Elementary, Kihei Elementary, Lokelani Intermediate, and Kulani Hako'i High. Out in West Maui, King Kamehameha III Elementary, Princess Nahi'enaena Elementary, Lahaina Intermediate, and Lahaina Luna High School are also closed. Meanwhile, Maui Electric reported widespread power outages as of 7:45 this morning. About 21,000 people were without electricity, and at last check, they were able to restore power to customers in Makawao and upcountry, but the power line inspection and repairs are ongoing. Now, over at Kahului Airport, there was a number of problems reported there. We also got earlier today a picture that shows 2 planes that collided. Once again, this is at Kahului Airport. Transportation officials confirmed high winds pushed one of the planes into the other, and both were parked at the time of the collision. No injuries were tied to this incident. Hawaiian Airlines also had numerous delays and cancellations, so if you are flying out today, it is best to check with your airline. And all of this wild weather was topped off with a dusting of snow atop Haleakala. Check out some of the images we got earlier today. Icy conditions were reported down to the 6,000-foot mark. Officials warned that travel up there could be very difficult to near impossible due to the slippery conditions, and that's why the Summit District remains closed at this time. We'll be sure to keep an eye on all of the developments out of Maui County. Stay with Hawaii News Now on air and online. And be sure to send us your severe weather photos and videos. You can do so on our mobile news app. Dylan Encheta, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Dylan. At least 10 people are now dead and more than 10,000 homes and other buildings have been completely destroyed as multiple wildfires continue to rage across Los Angeles. More than 150,000 people are under evacuation orders. Charlie DeMar has the latest.
Firefighters in Los Angeles County attacked the raging wildfires by air Friday. More than 55 square miles have burned so far.
Everything I owned was gone.
In an effort to prevent looting, a curfew will be in effect this evening in areas affected by the Palisades and Eaton fires.
You cannot be in these affected areas. If you are subject to arrest.
National Guard troops are patrolling the mandatory evacuation zone here in Altadena, where the Eaton fire has reduced home after home to rubble. This is what so many people here in hard-hit Altadena, unfortunately, are going to be coming home to. People who we spoke to who've been trying to get back to their homes say they are now frustrated that looting is a problem.
It's mind-boggling because I can't get in, but then looters could get in.
David Resendez says he can't believe someone would stoop so low.
I would guarantee they're not from here because this community, Altadena, is a tight-knit community.
At the White House, President Biden received a briefing on the wildfire emergency response, a day after promising the federal government will cover firefighting costs for the next 6 months.
We've got to be prepared to pay for it. And when we do, we got to build back better than we did before.
And as crews attack the wildfires from the sky, officials are warning people not to fly drones. That's after one nicked the wing of a super scooper, grounding it Thursday.
Flying a drone in the fire traffic area is not only dangerous, but it's illegal.
LA County's fire chief saying the plane should be flying again by Monday, just in time for the next expected red flag event. Charlie DeMar, CBS News, Altadena, California.
Meanwhile, the executive producer of 2 recent Hawaii productions has lost his beachfront getaway in Malibu. Peter Lenkov headed up the reboots of Hawaii Five-0 and Magnum PI. We spoke with him as he was waiting in his car while a police roadblock prevented residents from getting back in. Now, on his Instagram, Lenkov showed photos of his home on La Costa Beach in Malibu that he had for many years, but it was lost in the Palisades fire. He says police told him some looters have been arrested.
So I'm sort of sitting by the side of the road waiting for the police to open up the roads so I could get in there and see if there's anything at all to salvage. I mean, I've seen video of the house, so it doesn't look like there's much, but you never know.
What can you tell the folks in Hawaii who are really worried about you tonight?
Well, so many people have reached out from there, but we're fine. I really feel bad. I feel bad for the people that have lost everything. I still have a home right now to go back to. We have no power, but that's nothing compared to a lot of people, and a lot of friends of mine are standing in front of rubble, and that's all they had.
Angela Galvan graduated from UH and lives in Sherman Oaks. Thursday afternoon, she got an evacuation warning and packed her car and got ready to leave with her cat. Lahaina wildfire survivor Sanford Hill lost several friends at an elderly complex during the Lahaina disaster. He lived in the Hollywood Hills during the 80s and says the similarities of both fires trigger his PTSD. And stay with us as we continue to cover the Southern California fires on air, online at hawaiinewsnow.com. We're learning more about the 6 survivors of the Alia Manu fireworks explosion who are receiving treatment in Arizona. Efforts are underway to help support them and their families during this difficult time away from home. There are at least 14 family members from Hawaii currently staying in Phoenix, and some of them are preparing for long-term stays. All 6 patients are going to be there for at least 3 months, possibly even 6 or 7. These are pictures of the 6 survivors in Arizona. If you want to donate to their recovery costs, we have a link on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com, and of course donations will go toward food, hotels, and social services for the 14 family members. For the first time in the history of our nation, a U.S. president has been sentenced for a felony. After months of delays, legal wrangling, and a failed appeal to the Supreme Court, President-elect Donald Trump was sentenced after being found guilty on 34 felony counts in his hush money trial. Jay Gray has the developments.
Good morning. Please be seated.
History inside a Manhattan courtroom. Donald Trump appearing via video conference call, formally sentenced months after his conviction on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in an effort to hide an alleged affair and cover up from voters.
This court has determined that the only lawful sentence that permits entry of a judgment of conviction without encroaching upon the highest office in the land is an unconditional discharge.
An unconditional discharge means no jail time, no fines, no substantive punishment while confirming he's guilty and a convicted felon. The president-elect clearly frustrated, remaining defiant during the proceedings.
It's been a political witch hunt. It was done to damage my reputation so that I'd lose the election, and obviously that didn't work. The fact is that I'm totally innocent. I did nothing wrong.
Continuing to blast the process on social media, writing, "There is no case, there was never a case, and this whole scam fully deserves to be dismissed," promising an appeal to what he labels a despicable charade and hoax. But any challenge won't be complete before the inauguration in just over a week, assuring Mr. Trump will be the first convicted felon to take the oath of office and serve as president. And immediately following the sentencing, the president-elect reached out to supporters online and in an email asking for donations to continue to fight the case. Jay Gray, NBC News, Washington.
Here at home, because of Hawaii's high cost of living and lack of affordable housing, more than 500,000 residents are barely scraping by. That's one of the findings from the 2024 State of Alice in Hawaii report. It looks at the struggles of asset-limited, income-constrained, employed households, also known as ALICE. Basically, working families who are still struggling financially, but still make too much money to qualify for many programs or assistance. 1 in 3 Hawaii households is considering moving out of state for better opportunities.
Employers will never be able to elevate wages to meet the cost of living requirements of this place. Unless we come up with a host of very disruptive policies that drive down the cost of living, these people that are striking are going to leave.
You can find a link to the report on our website. And happening today, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development is set to announce some major funding for Lahaina's disaster recovery. A press release says Maui will get $1.64 billion to help rebuild houses and businesses after the wildfire a year and a half ago. The announcement is set to take place at 3:30 this afternoon. Well, ahead on This Is Now, a landmark announcement that will improve digital connectivity across the islands. Plus this.
Time could soon be up for TikTok. I'm Erica Brown at the Supreme Court, where justices seem prepared to uphold a law that could ban the popular social media app.
Hawaiian Telecom and state leaders teamed up today to announce that Hawaii is set to be the first fully fiber-enabled state in the country. Casey Lund reports from the Palama settlement with what that will mean for everyone.
Aloha from Palama Settlement. So much great work happens here, especially with young people. We're here in the Cecilia Black Digital Arts Room. This is a really cool space, especially for kids in the Kalihi Palama area that may not have access to broadband internet service at their home. I want to introduce Sue Shin with us, president of Hawaiian Telecom. Thanks for being with us today. We've got a big announcement to tell folks about, including a message from the governor as well.
Right. Yeah, thank you. So we're really excited to announce that Hawaii is going to become the very first fully fiber-enabled state in the country by the end of next year. It's a huge accomplishment. You know, a lot of hard work obviously has gone into this. We've been working at this for over a decade. but really excited to be at that point where we can make this announcement.
And we were with you this summer up at that new training facility in Halawa, the $15 million investment from you folks. And speaking of investments, we do have some assistance from the federal government, from the state government, but this is a huge undertaking for Hawaiian Telecom, right?
Absolutely, and we cannot thank our state and federal partners enough, for their support. Hawaiian Telecom's investing $1.7 billion to fully fiber-enable the state. Of that, about $107 million is coming from federal and state broadband grant programs. And those programs are incredibly important because they help us to really accelerate the speed in which we're able to get this project done. Again, not easy, but with the support of our friends at the feds, right, the state, our county partners, even nonprofits like Palama Settlement, we can really make this incredibly impactful for our community.
And speaking of that impact, and speaking of Palama Settlement, where we're at here, we zoom out and look at this really awesome resource for kids in this neighborhood. How important is it that people have access to high-speed, affordable, reliable internet service, especially in our underserved communities?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in this day and age, right, in the digital world that we live in, those of us in maybe the urban core, take connectivity for granted, right? We have it, it works, and we don't think about it. But in many rural communities, and to your earlier point, for some families that maybe are lower income, they may not have access, right? And so it's really about that access. It's about being able to get that connectivity, whether it's at a place like Palama Settlement or your local library. It's incredibly important because in this day and age, it means the difference between having access to healthcare, education, and really economic opportunities, right? Especially in Hawaii, as we talk about how do we diversify our economy, right? How do we make sure that the next pandemic or the next big economic downturn doesn't hit us in the ways that we know that it typically does, right? So it is really foundational infrastructure for Hawaii and really transformative.
And we're about 60% of the way complete, right? Yeah,
yes, we are.
40% to go, and this big announcement, exciting again, that Hawaii will be the first state in the country to be fully fiber optics enabled. Sushin, thank you so much for your time today. By the way, they're always looking for qualified team members. If you want to learn more about some of the opportunities with Hawaiian Telecom, we have information at our website, hawaiinewsnow.com. We'll send things back to you for now.
It appears the Supreme Court will uphold a law that would ban TikTok in the U.S. in just 9 days unless it's sold by its Chinese parent company. Erica Brown has more on today's Supreme Court arguments.
At the U.S. Supreme Court, justices heard from lawyers representing TikTok, arguing a ban on the wildly popular social media app would violate the First Amendment rights of its users, about half of the U.S. population.
The bottom line, Your Honor, is this case ultimately boils down to speech. And my friends on the other side, when you cut through everything else, are ultimately worried that the ideas that appear on the TikTok platform could in the future somehow manipulate Americans.
But Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelager, representing the Biden administration, argued TikTok's China-based parent company, ByteDance, could weaponize data on the platform.
TikTok collects unprecedented amounts of personal data. And as Justice Sotomayor noted, it's not just about the 170 million American users, but also about their non-user contacts who might not even be engaging with the platform.
In their questioning, justices seem inclined to uphold the ban lawmakers passed with bipartisan support last April.
Congress is fine with the expression. They're not fine with a foreign adversary, as they've determined it is, gathering all this information about the 170 million people who use TikTok.
All it's doing is saying ByteDance has to divest, and then TikTok can go about its business, use whatever algorithm it wants.
ByteDance could sell to halt the ban. A privately funded group, including Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary, announced it wants to purchase TikTok, but ByteDance has said it will not sell. If the ban goes into effect, TikTok would disappear from mobile app stores. For users who already have the app, they can access it, but new posts and updates will be unavailable, and the app will eventually go dark.
I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points.
In a legal filing last month, President-elect Donald Trump asked the Supreme Court to pause the ban until he takes office and he can negotiate a resolution. Erica Brown, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Here at home, the Oahu SPCA is putting out an urgent call for foster families to pitch in within the next 8 days. The no-kill animal shelter in Wahiawa is critically overcrowded. Since January 1st, it's taken in 145 dogs and 167 cats. There are even more animals on the shelter's wait list. So if you want to help, go to oahuspca.org or call the number on your screen. Hey, Drew.
Hey, Ashley, stick around. Coming up after the break, I'll give you a quick look at our First Alert Futurecast. We'll talk about the chance for isolated thunderstorms on Hawaii Island this afternoon. And check this out, everybody. New video sent in to us shows multiple flashes of lightning over Makaha last night. It's part of the ongoing severe weather that parts of the states have been seeing this week. Of course, we've been giving you the first alert for this all week long. Several of those thunderstorms were just offshore. Some of them impacted Maui last night and this morning. And of course, we're tracking some pop-up thunderstorms today on Hawaii Island. And of course, the trade winds are returning. So let's talk about all of that in our first alert forecast and what we're seeing. I do want to show you the overall weather pattern with what's going on outside. The key takeaways, what you need to know for this afternoon. The most instability over Hawaii Island. Pop-up thunderstorms are possible there over the entire island. Of course, we did see some snow on Haleakala, and we could continue to see some snow over on the Hawaii Island summits. And those isolated thunderstorms could lead to some flash flooding. Very isolated flash flooding, but a lot of rain and strong winds could come from those thunderstorms. So let's break down our first alert futurecast going in closer to Hawaii Island throughout the next couple of hours. This is 4 p.m. You see a lot of green over there. Spotty, isolated thunderstorms are possible because of the instability in the atmosphere and the nature of this upper level disturbance that we've been tracking. This is 6 p.m. We continue to see some rainfall over near Hilo around 7, 8, 9 p.m. And again, this is hit or miss. It's not going to be for everybody. We'll be drying out slightly throughout Saturday. Still a slight chance for some pop-up thunderstorms early tomorrow morning. You can see our winds outside across the state. Overall easterly flow in town around 10 miles per hour. out of the northeast. We're going to continue to see this pattern throughout this weekend. Of course, the trade winds are back. They're out of the east-northeast. You can see Saturday afternoon between 15 to 20 miles per hour out there, so a little bit breezy at times. And those high surf advisories that we've been tracking earlier this week, we had high surf warnings. Those have been downgraded to high surf advisories and extended until 6 p.m. today and will likely be ended at 6 p.m. today. You can actually take a look at our surf and shoreline forecast for this afternoon. North-facing shores around 10 to 14 feet, west-facing shores 6 to 9. East-facing shores a little bit on the rise with the return of those breezy trades. Here's your first alert 7-day forecast. Of course, today is a first alert weather day on Hawaii Island. We have it highlighted in red right here for that, but it's not a first alert weather day across the rest of the island chain. Very nice weather expected out there. Beautiful conditions expected by Saturday and Sunday. That's it for first alert weather. Let's send it over to Ashley.
Thank you, Drew. Well, still to come, giant pink inflatable sculptures are popping up around Boston. We'll tell you who's behind it in 2 minutes.
Time for some good news now, and if you got a friend in Boston, tell them to head outside and look around.
That's because the city has been taken over by pink inflatable men. Check it out. These sculptures, known as Mr. Pink in English, are the work of a Parisian sculptor making their debut in the U.S. Now you can spot the strange, playful guys peering into restaurants, hiding behind buildings, not creepy at all. A city official invited them to Boston to give the city a pop of color during drab winter months. More of them are going to go up around the city over the next week.
You know, that guy looks like he's stuck. Yeah, I don't know how he got there. I hope he can get out.
They don't even have pants on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. All right, we're going to leave you with this last look outside. First alert weather day for Hawaii Island. Stay tuned to more headlines first at 4 right here on KHNL. Aloha.